right? So I find if you've got a rule that is there that you know about, but you can find a better way, go and find the better way. So level 3, we really go into short haircuts quite considerably. I work from the front whenever I do a short haircut because I like the hair to basically flow from front to back, and I like this hair to flow from front to back, and it gives that really nice sort of silhouette-y look. However, you can do the same from the back, which is where we're going to start. It's the more classic way. I don't want to confuse you now when you're just about to prepare for your EPAs, okay? Level 3 cutting is really in depth. So I look forward to seeing you all in it, basically. Hopefully you're on the evening group. So we're going to start with our center section down the back. So from the point of our horseshoe and just a vertical section. So we're going to be working vertically the whole way around the head. Level 2, seemingly everything is done vertically. And we'll see, obviously, with the guys who we've been through graduated bobs with, that we don't stick vertically. The LHA way is vertical, but we like to do our little diagonal sections and run that diagonal section all the way to the front. And directional sections or diagonal sections help you move your hair from one place to another. So it helps you move a much more combined and connected haircut from the front to the back or the back to the front. Okay. The difficulty with working vertically is everything's got to be worked with your body position. So it's so crucial that you're cutting hair with the hair coming straight up towards us. Okay. So I remember when Chelsea, when we did a short grad in salon, it feels like ages ago now, but when you started working, obviously we were standing one side in your first section and it was a little bit off. But as soon as you stepped in, I remember you were stepping around the head and it was perfect, wasn't it? It was really, really good. And seemed to look from an outsider's perspective, it looked to be quite an easy haircut that you were achieving. And you completed it very, very well. So it's all about your body position, where you're standing and where you're pulling the hair out to. If we're standing here and pulling the hair towards us, we know that the hair's going to be fine. But if I'm across to the side and pulling the hair away, my over direction may twist and may change. Okay, so it's really important that we stand in the correct place and make it comfortable for yourself. Okay, so right-handed people, we're going to come around the right-hand side over the top, which is easier, and then around the left-hand side underneath. Okay. When we graduate on the inside of our hand. So we graduate on the inside. When we layer on the outside. We know when we're layering hair, which we're going to go into next week, we run and have the layers on the outside of our fingers. When you graduate, you want to have the hair on the inside. It's easier to control and much more comfortable to control as well. Okay, so let's begin. So we already know with our elevation chart over here that the higher we lift the hair, the lighter the hair becomes. Okay. Because we're doing a shorter graduation look, the pen's running out. Because we're doing a short graduation look, we know that we're going to be below 90 degrees with our elevation. Okay, but depending on the thickness of the guest's hair is how high we're going to lift it, or the density of her hair is how high or how low we're going to go. So if she's got really fine hair, you're going to want to leave a little bit more weight to your look so that we increase the length from the crown to the top point of our elevation, which is going to give us that little bit more stability with our head shape. Okay, so finer hair, we're going to want to elevate from something down into about here. Okay, but for thicker hair, we want to take that a little bit more choppier, a little bit more softer. So we're going to elevate our section just that little bit higher. So if we're in salon and somebody has, I've done the short graduation on a client, and then she comes back in next week when I'm off and sees Rimini, for instance, and she doesn't like what I've done. She says it's too heavy. All Rimini would need to do is find where my elevation was and lift it higher. Okay, and then run that same elevation round the whole way. And that client is going to stay with Rimini forever. She's never going to leave her because she's fixed a problem that she didn't like and she's found an alternative and it looks perfect. Okay, so when you're in your consultation and somebody says to you, it's too heavy, all you got to do is find out is find out what the elevation is, lift it higher, and you're gonna be perfect. It's the same with graduation, and it's the same with layering. We know with elevation, it creates our weight. So as soon as you lift the hair off 0 degrees, you are removing weight from the hair because you're lifting the hair up, and the amount of hair coming down onto that one point is reduced. Make sense? Any questions? Does that not make sense to anybody? Anyone got anything that I've just said there that they think, what are you doing? Or are we good to carry on? Let's carry on. Okay. So, any questions throughout, let me know. If you want to stop me or you've got a better way to work it, please do let me know. Anything that you've seen in Salon that you think that's better than what I'm doing, let me know. Okay. And this will gauge you up for level 3 where we change it up completely. All right. So section number 1, we are obviously vertical. Make sure our head is straight. And just to show you my section, my elevation is going to be quite high because I want to keep length in this block. I've got to do another one of these later. Okay, so I'm going to stand square onto the shape and really comb in from the very base. And my elevation, as you'll see, is quite high. Okay, so if we turn it in, my elevation is quite high, yeah. If I want my elevation lower, obviously I'll pull it down to here, and you instantly see that the top length of hair becomes a lot longer, which is a lot heavier because the hair is falling lower and it's stacking onto this point a little bit more. Okay, so section number 1, we're still nicely below 90 degrees, and we take that away. And section 2, I'm just going to run this nice and low into the nape. Now I've graduated the life out of the bottom of this block, so I'm not going to be going too much shorter, but you just want to run your line into the base, assess where that falls, and we can see that we've got that nice little bit of a stacking motion going on in there. So what I mean by graduation, where I say it's a build-up of weight where your external line is the shortest point and everything internally gets longer, it's basically this section here. So everything's really short in the nape and it's getting longer and longer and longer as we come up the head. So if she electrocuted herself now, we'd see that sort of look when the hair stands out on end. Okay, so graduation is where you're building hair or stacking hair on top of one another. So you've got your shorter point in the nape and everything is getting longer and longer as it comes up the top of the head. Okay, so it makes sense and it stands to reason. Sorry, something's flashing on here. So if I lose you guys, I had a power cut yesterday and I lost the session. So if we go again, we'll carry on later. It stands to reason that your one length or your line is your heaviest form of graduation because the hair is getting longer. If the outline length is here, every piece of hair is getting longer to come down to sit to that one line. Does that make sense? So anything off of 0 degrees is going to be weight removal, as we know, okay? So we'll push our head back forwards and we're going to start moving back around the head. So we come into the right-hand side first of all. So I personally like to run my fingers over the top of the guest just to make it a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to step to the right-hand side slightly because I'm following the shape of the head and I want the hair to be completely out from its natural fall. So similar as when we do our uniform layer work, we want everything to come out from the base of the head. And I'm going to take my section, same elevation, and pick up my guideline and run my line into the nape. Okay, so I'm just going to cross-check that little area to make sure, and we're nice and round. So I can get rid of section number 1 now because it's going to be over-directing into section number 3, and we don't want that. We want to have 2 sections running around the whole head. Okay, so now we're moving across to the side. I'm going to take my next section next door, and we're going to move on. So twist her back around here. I'm going to step again to the right and run my line. And we're gonna, it looks like we're gonna run out of hair around this side piece. Has anybody in salon, when you see people doing short haircuts, do they start in the back or do they start in the side? Where do they start from? Anybody ever seen somebody and actually watched them doing the haircut and see where they do begin?
At the back.
At the back. Okay. Anyone had it any differently? Becky's the back, Jessica Hart's the side. See, I start in the side. Is there any difference? Do we know if there's any difference between starting at the back or the side? What could be the difference between starting in certain areas of the head? Does anyone have any idea?
One of my stylists said if they start in the sides, they can see if it's going to be too heavy, so then you get to the back.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. It's quite a nice little way of thinking about it, really. Anybody else? I'll run through that in a minute, what Jessica's just said, but anyone else got any other ideas of why we start in the back to the front or the front to the back? Okay, so with what Jessica was saying there, you can check your length easy if you start in the front. You can make sure that you're not going too short, because now we start in the back, we're committed now, we've got to go in. So if she finds it too heavy or too long when we're getting in the front, or even too short, we're pretty stuffed, aren't we? We've got to start again if it's too long. But the good thing about starting in the sides is you work your elevation. So we normally will work with a diagonal section to flow that length from front to back and just work diagonal the whole way. But the higher your section, the lighter the hair is going to become, or the softer and choppier it's going to begin. So if you know somebody wants quite a high weight line or a soft, choppy, Shoreditchy look, we're going to have our section quite high and quite stable so that it's closer to where we lay the hair down. So what Jessica was saying is absolutely correct, where we want to be aware of the weight of the haircut straight away. So the lower we go, we know that we're going to have a lower weight line. So for somebody with finer hair, I work almost horizontally in the sides, keep that weight, and then I know I can drop that line a little bit lower in the back to give her more zhuzh and more volume. But if we want to get someone who's got thick hair, who wants to have a choppy, softer, pixie looky cut, then we can come quite high with our section, still keep it curved, but run that shape round. So I find working from the back is it's quite a difficult way to start, really. And you have to be very careful of your overall length and your overall weight that you're distributing. But if we start in the sides, it's a much easier approach. It's really quite a comfortable way to graduate your hair. So when we come on to level 3, we will be starting in the side quite considerably. Next week, I still do my cutting with level 3 at 2 o'clock. So I'm going to invite you guys along to the afternoon call as well. And we're going to be doing short graduation from the side and start doing like fireflies and things. And you'll find that it's so much easier to control your weight. Exactly what Jessica was saying. So really good. So now we're coming into the sides. I want to lift the head. Okay, we're still doing the same technique. So we're getting rid of one section, moving one section round, moving my body around constantly as we go. And every single time we're moving, we're keeping our elevation exactly the same. So if I spin her around so you can see the elevation now, we're square onto the shape. So everything's coming out towards me. My elevation's still the same. So I'm nice and high. I'm just at about, I don't know what degrees that'll be, but just under 90. Okay. By being just under 90, we allow ourselves to leave some more length in our outline as well. Now, my only reason for doing that is I need length in the block for next week. But your reason in salon for doing it will be to keep softness. And then if you've got that softness, you can take it off afterwards and do your outlines how you want them to go. If you go really, really short in the beginning, you're going to find that you get a little bit too, you're almost too scissor happy to start. And then you can't control anything once it goes on. So you have to keep yourself a little bit of softness. You all know me enough by now to know I don't like to put myself out of my own comfort zone. I like to know that I've got a room to maneuver if the guest is getting a little bit a little bit unhappy with what I'm doing, I can then, if it's too long, I can always take it shorter. You can't ever put stuff back on. So I'm always quite conservative when I'm working with overall lengths of shorter haircuts. Hence, again, why I like to start in the side. I can choose my length, she's happy with it, and I flow that round, and I know full well that it's out of my mind then about a length controlling situation. I know that I'm going to be flowing my length properly. So into the front, and again, pick up your guide, same elevation the whole way around, and run my section down. Okay, this last little bit that I've missed. So how am I going to cross check, do we think? Anybody tell me how I'll cross check that? Anyone know?
Would you do it like horizontally?
Yes, absolutely. So because we've worked vertically, we're going to cross check horizontally. Okay, and we're going to elevate the section to where we cut it. So section number 1 was just under 90 degrees, so about 80, whatever it is, 89, I don't know. And we want to make sure we've got that nice clean line. Section 2 was slightly lower. So if we cross check that, we find that that's slightly lower. Okay, all the way around the haircut. So in here's generally where we find that we get a little bit of length popping out. So we will find how well we control our line. So again, we're just a little bit lower and we're nice and clean. And then section 2, pick up, find out that we're also clean under there. I don't ever really go too low with my cross check. If the first 2 are fine, I'm generally sure that my last 3 or 4 are going to be good. You can also check it visually. This is a really good way of working. Whenever you're doing something, or when you guys come on to checking other people's haircuts, which you will do. I mean, I know it don't look like you want to go into teaching now. Well, you guys are also young. So when I was your age, I didn't want to teach. I wanted to build my column, make loads of money, and not have to deal with teaching people hair. But I promise you, by the time you're a little bit older, by the time you're my age, which ain't that much older than you guys, really, well, it is, but you know, you're going to want to teach, and you're going to want to explain yourself through to learners and show them how good you can do hair so that they can learn from you and find your techniques. And teaching is fantastic, but a great way to assess somebody's work without even checking it is just visually. So a lot of the time you'll see me just comb the hair into place on your work and just have a look at it and see if there's any bits jutting out. If there's something that's not correct in it, you will see it when it's back on the hair. You have little bits that ping out. So it's a really good way of checking your work without having to really come in and cross check. So run it back off of the face, connect it in with the shape, and you can see just how the hair sits and how the hair behaves as we come around. You can see it's quite smooth and quite silky, yeah? That's what you're looking for. If you've got little bits that are sort of bumpy and lumpy coming out of the shape, then come back into there and cross-check and find where it is, okay? But when you guys come to actually teaching, you're going to be quite busy. So being able to see it visually and see any weight in there visually is so crucial just to save you time in the day, okay? So now that that side done, we're going to come into the other side. So spray it down, and right-handed, we're going to come underneath. Lefties, you're going to come over the top, okay? Because you're going to come underneath around this way. We don't have any left-handers, do we, in our group? Is anyone in the other group left-handed, or are we all right-handed here? I don't think we have any lefties. No answer means all righties, good. So we're going to take section number 1, again, from the right-hand side, or down the centre. It's not from the right, is it? And work vertically again. So this time I'm going to start to step my body round. Really important I keep my elbow close to my body, okay? My elbow starts to come away, my arm starts to change, or my positioning of my fingers starts to change, okay? So again, we're going to start to step round and keep my elevation the same. and start to cut. Now, this is difficult to stand directly in front of the haircut. I'm happy for you guys to step one to the left, just so that you're not dead straight. We weren't allowed to cut hair unless we were like this, but that's tough. So I'm happy for you guys to go across to the side. Just ensure you're not pushing the hair away or pulling the hair back round into your shape. So make sure your over direction is absolutely on point through here, okay? And then we're just gonna run this section down and check in everything visually as we go. Really important to be able to see your weight distribution and see if there's any weight knocking around in the haircut, okay? So again, spin round. And I'm gonna step, but I've moved her body, moved her head. Twist or take your section number 2 away, get rid of that. So section 3 and 4, and that's where you pick up your guide from, okay? So again, comb from the front and take away. I'm not one for combing the other side. I think I ran through this with Chelsea. Like she, as far as I remember, Chelsea was combing from the right side the whole way, and which is really good. For me, a lazy hairdresser, when you're doing your sections from underneath, a lazy hairdresser combs from the bottom. Or when you're working into this side, a lazy hairdresser will come in here and comb in there and then comb from the front. If you comb from the way you're set from your new section every single time, you're going to ensure that you don't over direct the hair too much. I was surprised when Chelsea was doing that. Sorry to talk about you, Chelsea. I was surprised when you were doing that because normally people start from combing from the wrong way, but you came in from the right position and came in and combed the hair through. I guess that's probably why you had such a clean line as well. So really important to work yourself from the very front in your new section so that your over direction is not being pushed and your hair is not being pushed around too much when you're working with the haircut. If I come from this side here, it's difficult to pull my hair away. I'm almost over directing straight away, okay? So really try and comb from the new section, comb that side back into your shape, okay? So again, we're working now into the front. I'm gonna do one more section and I'll lift our hair up. So we're gonna get rid of that piece here and twist her again so you guys can see. And I'm out of the way now, but hopefully this works. So again, coming in from the front of the hair, same elevation the whole way around and run down. And again, into the base, start to tuck my shape in. If you don't feel like that was good, cross-check it, realize that it was, and move on, all right? So cross-check as you go. Until you feel really comfortable with it, do a few sections, just cross-check it, find that you're fine, move on. It builds your confidence, okay? There's nothing better than cross-checking something and it's absolutely perfect. And the first time I cross-checked something that was good, it was a set of layering, and I'll never forget it. And it was the day that I knew I could do it and the day I knew I could cut hair. So I'd only cut 3 sections of my vertical sections around the back and I cross-checked it and it was perfect. I thought, oh my God, this is good. I can actually do this now. So keep yourselves cross-checking your work. It's not just something that I do or colleagues of mine do or people in your salon do to make sure you're doing something okay. A cross-check can really help you just keep your confidence and keep yourself motivated and keep yourself moving on, okay? So then we're moving into the front, a couple more sections, twist her again so you can see, get rid of this. And I'm gonna take my section from the front, combing in from the front. I comb a few times before I start cutting the hair because I want to keep that nice tension too, okay? So we're in there and run down. And then let's get rid of this last section as well. Perfect. So we're going to cross-check again. Check the balance. With your balance, just lift it high. Easy to do. Your top section, lift it up high and ensure that you get your nice balance. And we're going to cross-check horizontally, as Ellie said earlier. Make sure we get to our nice point of elevation. Find the cross-check's good. Cross-check the second piece and we're nice. And then run into the sides, or the back, sorry. and make sure we're connected under here, same elevation. So I'm not lifting too low. If I pull too low, then we get little bits pop out, okay? If we pull too high, then again, we get little bits pull out, all right? So really important that we elevate our cross check to the section that we have cut it, okay? And then visually, if we want to visually assess this again, comb the hair all back into shape, and we can see that it just wants to flow and just wants to move around the head without any sort of interruption to it at all. So you're going to get that really nice sort of positioning in the base. Okay, so that's our underneath. That's what we're looking for in terms of a shape. Nice and tucked in, quite a created little head shape in there for our guest. And when we're looking at visually, again, we can see that that just flows around the head and plops in and sits. Okay, if there's any issue to the haircut at all, you will see it when you visually assess the haircut. Okay, so really important when we are working in salon. It's a great way to show yourself off in salon as well. So you'll have your mirror there. Or say for instance, we're facing this way and someone else is sitting over there. I'm going to spin my chair around and I'm going to look in your mirror at my haircut. So I'm going to come across and stand here and just look over the top of your seat and look in your mirror, because I know that's good, but I want people in the salon to see that that's good. So I want to get busy. I want to get their clients off them and start stealing clients off people. It's what happens in salon. Do not feel uncomfortable when somebody comes over and sits in your chair that's your manager's been doing for years, because you're doing better than them. So utilize the mirrors in the room. You can see better at a distance. So you can see anything that's wrong with outlines or internal shape if you're looking in someone else's mirror, but also you're checking your work. You're making sure that looks pretty good, but everyone's looking at me looking in your mirror, okay? So really important that you do utilize your space, okay? So now coming onto the top, how am I going to cut the top with short layering? What can I do in the top section? There's a few ways we can cut this. Anyone know of a way we can go? Anybody at all? No? Chelsea, do you remember how we did it? Is she still there? Okay, let's move on. So we're going to work this in a few ways, okay? So we're going to start with possibly if the guest has a parting, okay, which generally they will. And that's what we're going to do for our piece today, because it's going to leave the most amount of length on my block, okay? So we want to basically connect the top with the sides, okay? So if we work from, what side do we have our parting? Let's have our parting on this side, okay? Generally, people are going to have a parting. They want to keep a nice long area in the front. So we're going to do that. Okay, so we're going to do a nice little connection. But if you want to do something different, we could do like a uniform layer across the top. So just work our section down, uniform layer like we did with the underneath. Just work it round and connect that shape into the bottom. That's going to take your hair quite short on the top, okay? A nice little other technique is to keep a lot of length in the front, is just to take horizontal sections going forwards, over direct those to the back. So we're increasing the length into the front and get a really heavy fringe, for instance. So something like, I can't remember the celebrity's name, but somebody, a pop star had it once where she had a really heavy fringe and it was a bit, looks a bit weird, but some people liked it, so a load of people came and copied it. For me, the best way to work is just connect it in with the sides naturally and work it in the parting that the guest chooses. So the first two were for somebody who doesn't really wear their hair in a parting. They like it nice and messy, a little bit textured, quite zhuzhy on top, okay? But for us, we're going to start a little bit flatter. So we need to start now working from the front. Well, I work from the front from this bit. It's a lot easier. and we're going to work with diagonal sections facing the back. So I want the hair to just progress from the top to the sides. So we're going to pick up our piece and make sure this hair is all nicely groomed out of the way, so we don't need a clip. And we're going to work our section round. So I'm going to lift the hair and elevate the hair up ever so slightly above that 90-degree angle. Okay, so work that round and then run a tiny bit more of elevation, and then in there we can come and point that through if we want to. Okay, so section number 2, we're going to over direct back to section number 1. So keep the body coming round, but I want to increase length now into the back ever so slightly. So we're coming above 90 degrees, so we're coming into our layer. Okay, and each time I'm just lifting that slight top piece just a little bit higher to push the weight off. So as we know, the elevation creates our weight. We've started quite low, and now we're coming into higher with our diagonal sections facing back, and now we're a little bit higher even still. So we're coming higher and higher, getting lighter as we come up the shape. But with our over direction, we're creating our shape. So we're pulling back from the back to the front, ever so slightly. So we're just pushing weight now back behind the ear and onto that little bit of softness on the back of the occipital bone. Okay, so again, we're running around the shape. I'm stepping around, I'm not stepping around, moving ahead, but same thing. And we're now elevating away and just running our line all the way back. Okay, so if we want to visually assess it, we can see that that sits in really nicely already, but we're not done yet because we're only halfway around. I've messed up my section. Let's get rid of that. And we want to come all the way round to the centre back. Okay, so round into here. And again, my elevation can now lift nice and high. And then we want to layer on the outside of our fingers. So everything's running and taking corners away from the haircut. When I used to teach at Sassoon, I used to teach the ABC course at Sassoon, and we had, the ABC is all about elevation over direction. It's all about pushing weight and how to take corners out of hair. And you'll have heard me say time and time again, all haircutting is removing corners. You've got a corner in the bottom, we're pushing that up with our graduation, pushing that into our layer and pushing it out of the haircut. Okay, so in here now, what we've created is if she electrocutes herself, we've got this really nice round shape the whole way around the haircut. Okay, and that's your plumb one length, because the hair runs round on the top really nicely and everything stays one length the whole way around the haircut. Okay, because we've graduated it in, we're not on your true one length. If we had our uniform layer, that would be our one length because the hair is all the same length the whole way around. But if we're visually assessing that again, if I stand out of the way, hopefully you can see that that just sits really nicely the whole way around. There's nothing in there that's a corner and nothing in there that's poking out. What I mean by a corner is if you get something like that where it's a little bit heavy or the hair doesn't actually want to sit in combination when you've combed it. So really nice, comb it in, see how the hair wants to go, and we just dress the hair in and it sits really well. Okay, that way you can work it so when we blow dry, she's still got a lot of length, she's still got a bit of something going on, she can still have a little bit of texture running around the back, still got a lot of length in here. That's the crucial point of a short grad, is that over the crown and over the occipital bone area, we don't go mad short in here, so it's like my haircut. We want to keep that female feminine softness to it, keep that length in the sides, as we said earlier, where we had our elevation quite high, keeps us with a bit of softness so we can control that. And if she wants to wear it flicking in her face, we can also put something in there a little bit later where we have a little bit of softness. Okay, so again into this side, so I'm going to do exactly the same round here, but this side we've got to be a little bit more careful. Why have we got to be a bit more careful? Does anybody know in here? What have I got to watch for? Anybody have any?
Your waist.
My what?
Is it because that side's more heavier than the other side?
It is. Very good. Yeah, absolutely. So this side is a lot heavier. As Jessica says, it's because the hair's got further to travel, we've got to be careful. So if I just connected this side with this side here and ran that line in to there and did the same, what we'd find is our layers on this side sit where they sit. So they'd sit in there. But these layers would sit nice and high up here, and that's going to look lopsided, and you're going to be in big, big trouble. Okay, so we've got to be careful because of the weight on this side. We need to elongate our shape. So if we're thinking in 3D terms again, she's electrocuted herself. This side comes round to here, hopefully, I think. Yeah, this side comes round to here, and this side we need to come round and up to here somewhere. Okay, because that's going to keep the same amount of length and we're going to fall nice and balanced. So if we come round the top of the head with our line and take off that corner in here, we're going to find we get a little bit too light on the right hand side and we're going to have a lot of trouble. So what I mean by that, I haven't done any of my head sheet, have I? What I mean by that is this side is going to be, if our parting's in here, our hair's going to come up, down and round. But in this side, we need the hair to come up to here, down and round, so that we keep nice and balanced. Okay, and that's your 3D shape, that's your expanded shape. And in level 3, we talk heavily about expanded shape. We focus on where, if you can see it 3D, you can see where the corners are and you know how to take it out instantly. Okay, so for this, I'm going to do the same technique. I'm going to pick up the hair and I'm just going to run my shape from the underneath and connect it. Okay, so I know that I want that to come a little bit higher, so I'm going to run up a little bit wider, and then I'm just going to pull this hair, still following the shape of the head and the flow of the head, but I'm coming a little bit further out and a little bit higher up because I know I have to keep some length into that top piece, so that when I drop that down, my layering comes round and sits at the same point as the layering on this side. It's probably a bit heavy, so I can still come in and go a little bit closer around the shape. So take a little bit more away and then elongate my length into the front. Okay, this is so crucial. If you come round and you just connect it with the other side, there's a big possibility that she's going to be complaining, because you don't want to have layers up here so that this side almost sticks to her head and this side's got that beautiful shape. If she looks at that and thinks that's cracking, that I'm really happy, and then you do this side and it shrinks in and you're in big trouble. And hair that short takes a long time to grow out as well, as you will probably know. So now we're just going to run that same sectioning pattern all the way around the head. So section number 2, and we're going to over direct to section 1. I can start in the top now because I know where my shape is and I know where my length is. So run that in and then run myself around the top of the head. Whoa. And start stepping around as I go. So we come and start connecting in with our underneath, and very simply just working around the head and keeping our elevation nice and high. Okay, so you can pick up a guide and run down and then start to lower yourself down. So we're getting heavier, we're starting nice and light, but we're getting heavier and heavier as we come around the shape. Okay, hopefully this is making sense. If it's not making sense, please do let me know. There's nothing in the chat just yet, but if there's something you're not understanding, please let me know, because this is quite it is quite tricky, but once you do it, you'll be fine. So as we come into the back, we're starting to create that section into here again. Okay, it's a really nice way of layering the hair down. I've got a really good long layer technique where we do this curve section the whole way, which I'm not going to show you till we get to level 3 because that will confuse you. But it's called a shake, and there's videos of it on my YouTube page if you guys do want to have a look. It is a fantastic way of layering. It's how I layer pretty much everybody's hair down. I stay away from the uniform layer and the long grab because I don't really like them as hair cutting techniques. You can work with much more flow to the haircut, a much more head hugging feel. So we will get onto that at some stage. But if you want to see me, if you want to understand it and you want to do it on a Zoom call, let me know and we can do. I'm absolutely fine to show you, but just don't let it get confusing. It's not something many people do either. So if you do a shake in salon, you will be very busy very, very quickly. So we run all the way into the back and just connect into our back piece. And then we're good. So we can doubly visually assess it. So if I push this piece into the back and have a little look where that falls, and then run this side over down to where it naturally wants to go and visually assess this side, we can see that everything is sitting really nicely into where I want it to go. So this has that nice slick backy look. It looks really cool. Got that shape into the nape area. Still kept all of our length from that top section to run over the top of the crown. It's a nice way to work if you've got a double or a triple crown as well. As we saw earlier, where I have my section running into a point in the base, it's just to control this top bit. Leave that crown area out until your top. If you've got your crown in your bottom piece and you go too short, you're going to be sticking out of the head. So really important to keep control of any influencing factor or growth pattern or anything like that. And then just run it round. So then if we give her a little bit of a zhuzh up and a little bit of a shake up, we have a nice soft little graduation, short grad, nice and soft, little bit of dinkiness coming around the front, which I would take off and go a little bit shorter with, do like a little side fringe if we want to, but I do need to keep length in the mannequin. So we'll do a little thing in there. So take a little diagonal section off on the heavy side. And all I want to do with this is just run it across to the opposite side and find my point where I want to go and just point cut this area of hair down. And then I can go one more if I want to and just elevate that section up and run my shape. So when we dress that over, we've got that little bit more stability in the front piece. Okay. I'm not going to blow dry because you've all blow dried before. I would blow dry with a flat brush, but there's no point. So section wise in the base, if you keep something nice and neat and tidy, when we come into our outlines, we can just point our outlines down and get a nice little bit of softness. You can even strengthen that up if you want to. The softer you go, the better really when you're leaving hair a little bit longer with a short grad. If you're going a little bit shorter, I tend to go a lot sharper with my lines. As we go shorter with this block, I will be going stronger with my outlines. I like to keep softness when you've got a bit of length in there. Also, you'll find that when you go shorter, you get a big hole appear here because of the density of hair that runs around the back. So do be careful. That's on a mannequin. If you're working on a client, you can keep your softness and keep your shaping a little bit easier. Are there any questions? Anyone got anything they want to ask? Anything they don't understand about what we did? No. I think that's seemingly okay. Okay, so let's go then. What I'd like you guys to do today is draw some head sheets, send me your notes. 2 o'clock this afternoon, a colleague of mine is doing a extensions tutorial, which would be really good to see. So I will send you the link for that. I will be on the call to make sure you guys are on the call. So go on and watch it. Extensions can make you an awful lot of money when you're in salon. So get yourself on there, watch that, send me some work through, have a go on your mannequins, and yeah, have a good day. Can I keep Hartley, Jessica, and Ellie on, please? And the rest of you can go. And send me your free things. Don't forget to send me your free things because I've got to do your last. And Chelsea, send me free things. All right. Good. Hello. You three, we need to do. Have you all got access to a computer or a laptop or something like that? When I send you the work through, can you open Word on something?
Yeah.
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 Do Hartley, have you got access to Microsoft Word?
Yeah.
Okay. I need to do 12-week reviews with you guys that were due the week before we locked down. So I'm going to write those out today. Okay. And then over the next couple of days, it hasn't got to be done today, but by next week, please have it sent back to me. Okay. Don't put any dates on anything. All right. I will write the dates in. Don't date it because we have to backdate this. But I had to do 12-week reviews with you the week before we led up to Christmas, but we were all in salon. So I'm going to write these out at some point today and email them over to you guys. Can you write out your segment or just fill in your segment? It takes like 10 minutes and then email it back to me and sign it, but don't date it. Okay. Is that all right?
Wait, what is this you're sending us, sorry?
12-week reviews.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But you haven't got to do it today. It's not. I'm not going to moan at you if you haven't done it. Just by next week, just fill out your little bit, your segment. It's basically how you think you're getting on, and then we'll send it off to your manager, right? But it was supposed to have been done a while ago, and I forgot. So, all right.
I think I've got a few other bits of work I need to send to you as well. So.
Yeah, send me your work through because I do have to log it on the system. So. It will be reviewed by my managers when we go back. So if you've got work, send it in. If you've got photos of things you're doing at home, take photos and send it in. Okay. Or if you're doing hair, take photos and send it in.
Okay.
All right, sweet. Thank you, you three. See you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.